Okay, it's May 23rd, 2022. It is what is it, Tuesday? Why is it always the oddest things that happen to me? I don't think there's an outlet outside of that building, behind that building. And a majority of people, when they see me in my car, they wonder, what am I up to? And I'm thinking, what are you up to? Leave me alone. Like, honestly, I'm not doing anything. I'm not loitering. Technically, I have access to that facility over there. Just because I don't want to be in the facility due to my social anxiety, that's not my fault. I work it out. I've lost 155 pounds naturally prior to pregnancy, and I shouldn't have to be looked at like I'm some kind of vandal, like I'm, up to no good, like I'm a criminal, because I'm not. That's insane. So last night, I made that video, and I tried to upload it all evening, and it wouldn't upload. So, it's because of the content that I have on there that people don't like me to disclose, because they don't like to look wrong. They don't like to look like they made a mistake. They don't want to be looked at as though, obviously that's why I'm suffering right now, is due to their lack of intellect, lack of willingness to do their jobs appropriately for each individual. And they see an ugly girl and they don't want to help that ugly girl. There's, I have too many flaws. I've got too many, not necessarily even personality or character flaws, more just aesthetic flaws. That's it. If I had, plastic surgery to make me perfect, then nobody would question any of my actions. Everyone would say, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. But I ended up getting these wrinkles and these, loose and sagging skin because I went through hell. Because I had to live through my mental disorders. I had to, confront them all. And my eating habits, and, yes, I've always, and I already disclosed this prior, that I've always had eating disorders due to my childhood abuse. Somebody's trying to message on there on, sending comments. That's why I paused for a second. But yeah, I think it's irrational that people care that I'm in their space. I think it's irrational that people don't know their own diagnoses, their own disorders. They claim they're fine. In actuality, they're not. Even somebody was making a comment about, why do people chew with their mouth open, or why do they chew this and that? It's none of your business how they chew. That's a mental disorder if you are irritated by the mastication, if you're irritated by the noise about, all of this and that. I have a very clean mouth. The fact that I didn't, brush my teeth prior to falling asleep, that irritates me. I wake up and I have, frothing at the mouth because of the bacteria that was left in there from the food that has started to, go sour in that way. It's starting to disintegrate my teeth and whatever. That's how it goes. People don't realize that that's it. Your overall health and well-being, your mental health, your mental state is indicative of like how well you take care of yourself physically. So that's what happens. That's what stems from these mental issues, is that, and even the fact that, people are born with disabilities, mental disabilities. I'm not discussing them. I'm not discussing people that are truly special needs. Those ones that are in wheelchairs, those ones in helmets, those ones that can't communicate. And even then, I still am able to communicate with a majority of individuals in that state, the vegetative state and everything, because I am willing to see them as a human being. I'm willing to see them as the soul that they are, trapped encased in that, prison of a body. And that's how it seems like for myself, is that I'm imprisoned in this corpse. I'm imprisoned in this organic material, and I don't know what to say or do to people for them to understand that we're all energy, that we're all, a different state of being. Instead, they look at me like I'm insane, They look at me, they question my reality, they question how deranged I am, and I'm thinking, do you not know that there are scholars that discuss these things out in public, and they're not looked at as though they have issues? They're actually, what is that? Exalted in that way. To have an understanding about the universe and the world around them that most people could only fathom, you know? So I feel as though I don't know what's going on right now. I would love to go back to school. I would love to know the terms so that I can relay what I perceive in this world. But I was kept sheltered for so many years. I was forced to only socialize with my family members, and they all suffered from various mental disorders, and then believed that they didn't. So they were undiagnosed, and I was socializing with psychopaths and sociopaths. And that's where I was getting my affection. That's where I was getting my encouragements. That's where I was getting all of these different aspects of why my character is slightly flawed in that way of, I didn't understand years ago that I needed to cut that out, that type of toxicity. I needed to cut that type of individual out of my life. And I was, you know, what is the word? Like hanging on the words of love. I was sort of, you know, aside from being persuaded by those words, I was so lacking in the emotional support that most children deserve. Every child deserves. What am I talking about? Everybody deserves to have a healthy and happy home life, and everyone deserves to get the education that they need, and everyone deserves to have fresh water and food and all these things, these attributes of basic survival, you know, these necessities. And I wasn't allotted that, because everyone presumed that our family was doing well because they were hiding things behind, you know, closed doors that the federal government wouldn't have approved of. So when I started speaking out against that, I have never actually gone to court face to face to incriminate any of my family aside from my father. The one time when I was 18, I went to a detective in Janesville, Wisconsin. So it's irritating to me that I never got the justice that I deserved those years ago, so that I could have proceeded to work on myself and my physical and mental well-being back then to get, you know, through some of this trauma. It didn't happen that way. And a majority of people's stories don't happen that way. They never get the closure that they deserve, the closure that they are craving. So I had a nightmare last night about my brother, and we were fornicating in the dream, me and my brother, willingly. And that was horrifying for me, completely horrifying, because me and, you know, my brother and I, he molested me. I woke up to him, you know, with his tongue all over, you know, tungalingus all over me. And it wasn't fair. I was only like 11, 12 years old. I was a heavy sleeper. We were in the same room together, where another, you know, couple of my brothers were in another room together. So after the incident, I requested to have my littlest brother, my baby brother, stay with me, because I didn't realize that my older brother, that was a year older, Augustine, was so mentally ill and had done those things to me. And I don't care if I disclose names or not. This is my story. And it's not like this is my story, I'm sticking to it. This is my story, and this is why I'm traumatized. This is my story, and this is why I have PTSD. This is my story, and this is why I get paid disability, because of these instances, because of the emotional trauma I sustained, and I'm not able to function properly in society anymore because of all of my ailments, my diagnoses. So I would love to get better. I would love that. I will never get better. No one ever truly just, you know, jumps those hurdles and then they're fine, and let me just get a job and let me just work in, you know, in society again. No, if you do that, you force those types of people into those positions to where they have to, you know, compete for survival again. They're going to kill people. They are going to lash out and murder people, random strangers, as opposed to the ones that actually abuse them. So I've been holding off in that sense. Like, I'm not homicidal, like everyone asks me every time I go to the, you know, psych wards and this and that. And I tell them, maybe toward my abusers, I'm fucking homicidal. And then they're like, that doesn't count. Because technically, it doesn't count. Because they've abused you. My reaction, my feelings toward wanting to hurt them in the same way, if not worse, that's completely normal. That's completely normal. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like the healthiest thing to want to do. You know, like everyone says, forgive and forget. You cannot forget. You cannot forget these things, the times where your body has been violated, the times where, you know, you were ripped in half in order to have a child that was ripped away from you 3.5 years after. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would anyone in their right mind believe that it is healthy to have done what they had done in court to me those days? I'm not sure. And that's why I speak out against it, because if there were any mothers in the courtroom that actually knew me, which they didn't, no one knew me. The only proofs I had were the different organizations that I went to seeking help, like Change Point, that has records that I ended up, going to classes, parenting classes willingly. And then also too, what was the other one? Healthy Connections, where a girl named Ashley would come over every week or every few days. And she was so kind to me, and we actually ended up like building a sort of slight friendship over it, because she was new to that Healthy Connections and reaching out and going to do home visits. And she would do that while I was breastfeeding and everything, and get my baby's weight. And, you know, even though I was not taking care of myself, I was getting into, aside from obesity, morbid obesity at that point as well, because I was consuming a lot due to depression while I was breastfeeding. I wasn't depressed because of my child. I was depressed because of the circumstances surrounding my ex-husband and how he was a terrible father and he was a terrible husband. And I lashed out at him a lot, and people saw that. And that's what they took as our relationship, whereas they didn't realize that we would have arguments over the most simplistic things, where I would ask him a couple times, can you take the trash out? And it just never happened. He would just be ignorant of my needs, ignorant of my wants, ignorant of everything about me. So even when we were divorcing, I thought it was very odd that for Christmas he had gotten me a couple of DVDs, Blu-rays, of my favorite movies, because I thought, this is really odd. He's never reached out and actually cared about the things I've enjoyed. He got me a Ouija board, and then for my birthday one year, he got me a frying pan. No wonder I hit him in the head with a saucepan one day out of aggravation after he was physically tampering with my body when I was sleeping. And that is like my moment of rest. I don't want to be tampered with. I want to have enough sleep, because I wasn't allotted that. Even growing up, my father would always wake us up in random times, or we would have to stay up until 2 a.m. massaging his feet, or his, rubbing his back or his head. And my life was horrible. My life still is horrible. And I don't understand why people would lash out at me for disclosing my truths, for being a real human being. And I don't know what's wrong with them mentally to where they're fighting for something that makes no sense. I'm not here to attack you. I'm not here to attack any individual person. I don't know you. Now, if I knew you personally and I knew about your flaws and everything and the things that you go around, your jealousies, your issues, what you do to other people, how you interact and how you demean others and whatever because of your own insecurities, then yes, we would have words, and I would have some things to say about you and behind your back. And honestly, I don't even do it behind people's backs. I will tell them to their face, and then I turn around and I discuss it with other people, because it's not right for you to go around behind people's backs to, chit-chat around about them. That's what happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me. And then this day and age in the South, people get away with it. Oh, well, she said this and he said that. Well, that's words. Where's your evidence? Where's your proof in that? Where is it? And also, too, did you take that out of context? Did you take any of that, did you understand that maybe it was a heated moment and that was an argument between, a domestic couple and this and that? And I'm relaying to the fact that my ex-husband got away with looking like a victim in the divorce, where he would have proofs that I was violent. No, there's no proof that I was violent aside from I admit that I hit you in the fucking head with a saucepan and bent it, and you still stood upright and blood, dripping down your face. You deserve way worse. You deserve way worse. But sure, I feel terrible because I got physically violent. I never get to that point. I never get to that stage. And when does this stuff happen? After people have already physically violated me. So obviously it's a reaction to the abuse that I already sustained. And I tried to explain that to people years ago. I should get retribution for it. I should get compensation for it because the issues weren't handled properly. They didn't come to me and get me proper help as an actual domestic violence survivor, a domestic violence victim, because that's what I've suffered from my entire life. So, and I didn't know that. I didn't know about these words until I was much older. And then I started reaching out to therapists, and they understood, and they were explaining to me what the definitions, or what the terminology was, so that I could have my definitions to the circumstances. And that's what was beneficial for me. And also getting off of all the psychiatric medications. So now just smoking medicinal marijuana, I'm more level-headed than I've ever been in my life in that way. To understand that people are going to get away with murder. People are going to get away with it depending on, their status in this world. That, if they're an officer, they'll get away with raping and molesting you and this and that because they're in a higher position. And it is just that, a hierarchy. And if you've got more money, you can manage to push things under the rug. I told people that soon enough, though, that's not going to be a viable option for these individuals. Everything gets caught up. Everybody's dirty laundry gets exposed in that way, depending on how many people you've hurt, how many people chat about you, how many people go around discussing the things that you've done that have scarred individuals for life, or you've murdered people in that sense. You've forced them into committing suicide even. So that's a mark against your soul. It truly is. And people want to ignore it. Those people that want to ignore it are psychopaths. Those people that disengage from emotional trauma, disengage from other people's realities, they're selfish narcissists with huge egos. And they feed their egos through selfish habits, through self-soothing habits, self-care habits that turn around and hurt others as opposed to helping them. So instead of someone saying, well, let me take some time out, I know that there's plenty of people that could deserve this more than me, let's reflect on that. No, they go out and they buy their fancy cars, they buy this and that, they eat their luxurious meals and this and this and this. So I wanted to sample a little bit of that before I died. That's exactly why I went on this journey, to find myself and to find the true me. And even living out of my car for nearly 2 years, I was doing just fine. There were no issues. You did not see any videos up until I got raped, and then I was screaming out because I was backed into a corner. I have nowhere to go. I have no resources in that way. I have no family. I have no friends in that way. I disown all of my friends because there's always a flaw I find in them, and the only friends I had recently were in the South, and I don't really condone a lot of the stupidity that they have. I feel like you're yelling at your children, you're smacking your kids. That's not okay with me. I'm not your friend anymore. So, and we will have, relationships after the fact. But once I see that they're mentally ill and they're taking their aggression out on their own children, or if they're taking their aggression out on their pets, or if they're too dumb to recognize how they're affecting other people, or if they're so money hungry or this and that, but they're always cycling in the same rotation of, living paycheck to paycheck, I'm over it. You're not worth my time. Like you're in that state of being that is constantly suffering and constantly just revolving in your own filth. And you're not doing anything to make, strides toward getting out of that filth. You're just wallowing in your own self-pity. But people don't see it like that when it's like they'll tell me that I'm doing the same thing. How is that even feasible? How is that even feasible? I've been trying to discuss this with people. I've been trying to seek help, and I was trying to get other people to step in where I couldn't. And I couldn't alter this reality because financially I had a lot of constraints. And so what is going on? Why is it in this day and age that people don't actually care about one another anymore? And then I realized we're overpopulated. There's way too many people to care about. So I just go around caring for everyone in a different sense. Majority of people, that I meet in the gyms and things like that, they have their lives together. They, in these fancy places like bougie Target or bougie, Whole Foods or this and that, those people look down on me. Those types of people don't want to help someone like me because I'm of that lower class, and I see that. I completely see that. Everyone has their sort of systems to where they're in brackets, and since they've already sustained a certain amount of success and certain amount of stability in their lives, they neglect their own mental health as well. And instead of offering back to others, they offer back to themselves and their family members, and only those they love and only those friends that they have. So I've never been able to expand in that way, to get friends that were out of my caste system, because I was not worthy of their time, because I was revolving in the same shit, wallowing in the same, like swine, just like everyone else, just a bunch of pigs. We're gluttonous, we're, animals that we're always in our primitive instincts kick in constantly, where we just want to fornicate with anything and everything around us, And I understand. That's why I still have these nightmares about my brother, and that I have to get out of that mindset of that negative behaviors, because that's completely toxic. Incest is toxic. I've been speaking about it for years, but my vibration is just slowly, very, very slowly trying to lift itself out of the pit that it was stuck in, because I'm still going through these traumas. I'm still reliving them. And the PTSD, that's exactly what it is. And that's why I smoke, to try to alleviate it. And people thought that was dumbing me down, that was keeping me in the cycle. In actuality, it was not. I started smoking medicinal marijuana legally for myself in Arkansas a few years ago. And that's what jump-started my overall search for healthy coping mechanisms. That's what jump-started me into health and fitness, and turn around, that it turned into a positive experience for my mental health. And that's why I tried to share it with other people. This is what I did in order to cope. This is what I did in order to stop wallowing in my own filth, to stop wallowing in my own shame, in my own self-pity for having had these things happen to me. The fact that I wasn't able to voice my opinion when these things were occurring, that's an issue. The fact that when I did speak out about it years after the fact, no one believed me, because they said that, people that were true victims spoke out immediately, and that is untrue. And psychologists know that. And also, too, I spoke out to my therapists at those instances. So regardless of what you say in your paperwork, in your court proceedings, in your judicial system, you have all the proof of me speaking of these issues in therapy since I was 12 years old and beyond that. So I'm not sure what to tell you aside from the proof is in the pudding. And you didn't offer me the same things that you offer an upper middle class family, because they have the finances to go after these individuals in court. They have the finances to sue the law enforcement teams that didn't follow through and try to confront this during that time, or to have fix the situation afterward, Instead, when I spoke out and I reached out for officers that day that I got physically assaulted by my ex-husband's family, 4 of his family members, I called the police, because I had presumed we need to get to the bottom of this. Physical violence is not okay, and I'm not going to have physical violence around my daughter. And what did they do? They looked at me like I was the aggressor, because all of these people that assaulted me backed themselves and wanted to keep themselves out of jail. So that's not fair. I pray it happens to each one of you individuals that knows about it and didn't stand up for me in that time frame and knew that you were placing the wrong person in jail. I mean, you're gonna get yours, and so will your family, and so will your loved ones, because that's how it works. And that's very sad, because who am I? I'm just warning you. I'm just informing you of what's going to happen. And I tell people all the time, I'm not the one that is actually doing it. I'm not the one that's physically out there, giving you your karma. But that's just how the universe works. So when I woke up out of these different suicide attempts, passing over and coming back, I gained a little bit more knowledge. I gained a little bit more of a perspective on what is truly going on in the world around me, and why I'm still suffering in that way. Yes, I do suffer. Believe me, I have a high pain tolerance, so even a lot of these things that most people can't even live through, yet all of a sudden I'm able to live and engage with all of these things, but it's mostly just because of the fact that there's somebody standing over here by my vehicle, like walking around it. Anyway, I don't know why this stuff happens. So, why do I get so distracted too? Like, I can't even keep because I'm always scared. I'm always constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for someone to pounce on me, waiting for someone to assault me, because that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever been accustomed to. And then I was forced to keep my mouth shut about it. And that's completely not okay. That is not right at all. So all of these families that, ethnic families, the families that didn't have therapy growing up, that didn't have the money to go to therapy, didn't have money to go to doctors, and yet you look down on us for not being as advanced as you, as evolved as you. And it's like, hold on, did we have the same privileges that you had? No. Did we have the same advancements that you had? No. I just went to white schools, and that was the difference. That was the difference. And my parents cared enough to do that, but they actually got assistance. They didn't pay much toward putting us in private school. That's why I was able to go for 7 years of private schooling. Well, minus also a year, because my parents homeschooled us during my 4th grade year. So there was like a year and a half in there that I was homeschooled, and they had to put us back in school. So technically I've only been in Catholic schools for 6 years total, somewhere around that. And I loved it. That was what allowed me to excel intellectually and emotionally, because I was getting that support that I needed in those schools, those private schools. And that's what I wanted for my child, if ever anything were to happen to me, that she would have faith or something to fall back on, and that hopefully the people of faith, the godly people, would be there for her if in that instance I weren't there to handle it. So I was going through a lot of psychiatric medications too at that time when I lost my child. And I didn't even lose her because I was on drugs or anything. I lost her because of a signature that was falsified. And in a divorce proceeding that wouldn't, if I would have fought with money, I would have ended up winning. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that they've allowed it to progress to this point. It's been 6 years. No wonder I dox people on the internet, and it's not even considered doxing. It's the honest truth. This is how my interactions went. This is why I'm so adverse to socializing. Wait, hold on. Anyway. No wonder. Just no wonder. I am completely mortified that I had that dream last night with my brother in it, and I pray to God he fucking dies. Just like, I just pray to God he's just off of this earth and stays the fuck away from me and goes to hell where he belongs. So, at this point, I'm just so irritated. No one understands I'm constantly being attacked, even in my dreams. And they're like, they're just dreams. They're nightmares. They last all day. They don't just, I don't just end up forgetting about them later on. No, it doesn't happen like that. It's insane. This woman, I guess, is walking around the building. That's weird. I don't understand. Why don't you just go inside the gym that's there? So, and I understand when people, but you're walking around a building. Like, I don't know, go to a park or something. I don't get it. I swear some of this stuff is played out just for me because people know where I'm at and they just want to mess with me personally. I swear to Christ. Swear to fucking Christ. Stay the fuck away from me. Every fucking being on earth. Even this child. Like, why? Why did I have to have some type of emotional connection toward my offspring? Why can't I just be like every other man? You know, why can't I just be like every man and just forget about it? They're just kids. They'll grow up. They'll do their own thing. You know, fucking knock up the bitch and then run off. You know, that's how it works. And men are allowed to get away with that psychopathic, behavior. You know, that's insane. You're a psychopath if you really believe that you're not obligated to help rear the child and help sustain the mother before and after the child's birth, regardless of how it came about, how it was conceived. So, and we don't actually hold people to any type of standards anymore. Everybody is just wandering around, dicking each other, shooting each other, doing all this and that to each other, robbing from each other, and no one gets in trouble for it. Assaulting everyone, like in my circumstance. That's why I speak out against it. That's why I'm an advocate for these things. Domestic violence and sexual abuse and trauma and post-traumatic stress and all these things, mental health. And here comes another one. But this one has her purse on and there's no vehicle here. Where are you going? Where are you going? I have no idea. You know, and then I worry that these crazies have my information and they're going to try to help me. You're not helping me. You can barely help yourself. I mean, a majority of these individuals that are trying to help steal my child and such, they have their own mental issues. They're overweight. They don't exercise. How are you going to take care of the child then? If you're not going to be active with the child and you're going to teach it, you know, healthy coping mechanisms and whatnot. How? Tell me. So, that's why I try to explain to people, God took my child away so I could realize I wasn't giving her all the activity she needed. And also I needed to realize I wasn't taking care of myself in the same time frame. You know, the same. She's walking the fucking building too. I swear to God, I'm gonna kill myself. I swear to God. Swear to God. That's all I could think about this morning, is finding a large, very large bridge, seeing how many people jump off of it, because I swear to Christ, I'm to that point. Ooh, I'm just flying, God. I'm not trying to kill myself. Oops, if I die. Oops. I didn't mean it. Oopsie daisy. I'm to that point. Like, I've tried so many different attempts, different styles of death, and it has not happened. And all of these narcotics. How do you still survive after the amount of narcotics I've had in that sense? I had 90 bars of fucking Xanax at one time. I should not be alive. What did they do? Continue to prescribe them to me. Even after I had told them and disclosed to them verbally about it. What? So, what the fuck? All I was doing was seeking help, and what were they doing? Helping me with one foot in the grave. Like, here, let me help you, get down into your grave that you're digging yourself. And I didn't even dig it for myself. It was everyone else, I feel like. Like my father and my brother. All these men that have molested me. The only person, sexual partner that I can ever remember not abusing me was my first boyfriend. That was the only one that actually took care of my emotional needs. And it wasn't even to where he was financially supporting me. We were both living at our parents' houses, He just happened to be the sweetest boy I'd ever dated in that way. to where he cared about me. He didn't look at other girls. He was just infatuated with me. He was so kind to me in growing up, and I used to be kind of cute back then, before all of this trauma, before all the weight gain, before, having to live a life outside of school, because they don't prepare you for this stuff. They don't prepare you for having to get a job. They don't prepare you for having to budget your finances. They don't prepare you for how to cook on a budget. They don't prepare you for any of this stuff. Fortunately, I had a few classes here and there in high school and stuff. Like, I did home ec for a little while. I did this one for financial, whatever it was. It was like I don't remember what her name was. She was a very petite woman with dark hair. And she taught us how to, like, balance a checkbook, things like that. Necessities, things that we needed to know so we could understand we may not always have resources available to us, so we need to conserve what we have and spend it sparingly so that we can withstand survival, And they don't teach you where to go if you need assistance on where to live. They don't teach you on the resources in the communities to where this is where you go to find housing. This is where you go to find schooling. This is where you go to get, a trade, and this and this and this. They just assume that your parents, like asses, they assume that your parents are going to be there for you because you're over here getting perfect grades, which I did. You know what I mean? So they just assumed that I came from a loving, wholesome family in that way because that's what my parents liked to portray. But yet my brother, who was 2 years younger than me, was a felon at the age of like 17 or 18. So how can you sit there and tell me, if you step back and look at the entire picture, I'm trying my best. I was the middle child of the 5. I went through a lot of trauma sexually growing up, but I was, I had a lot of restrictions as well. I had a lot of, what is that? People had always tried to push me to educate myself because they knew I was capable of it. They knew I was capable of the intellect. But what they didn't understand is that when you don't have the emotional support that you need during during your efforts and trying, that it backfires nearly 100% of the time. Even ask the people that went off, did it on their own, years and years they put in the effort and, just kept their emotions to themselves and pushed it really far down, choked on their tears. And then, after a while, they ended up having to still go to therapy, having to still relay what was truly forcing them into success, what forced them into that state of survival. And that's where it's like, for me, I'm surprised I'm alive this long. I'm going to be completely honest. I take it day by day. That's insane. Like, I'm extremely proud that God is still, is like touched by an angel, like, what the hell? Like, I can't believe I'm still here. I really can't. Like, all the times that I had attempts that I still came back from, all the times when I accidentally almost died when I was a child and whatever, like, ask my mother about it. She's so proud of herself to say, yeah, I was the one that saved you. No, you're the one that put me in danger. You're the one that gave me that dysentery or whatever I had. And by taking me to Mexico, knowing I was a sickly little child, knowing that I was premature, knowing all this and that. But what did you care about? You cared about money. You cared about everyone else. You didn't care about me. So my mother always said, well, there's other people. You know what? Because you created those other people. Quit thinking about the siblings that I have and focus on me for a minute, because I'm the middle of your 5 children. Statistically, I was the most ignored, which is true. Factually, I was the most ignored in my circumstance. So how these things line up with statistics, with other people's stories, I'm pretty sure I'm not lying about this stuff, Mom. I'm pretty sure, my family's fucked up and you didn't make efforts when you did, needed to. And here I am sitting in an empty parking lot, essentially empty, and sleeping in my vehicle. And, trying so hard not to snap on individuals for just coming into my sphere of reality. Like, people have no idea how much I should be praised on a daily basis for keeping my mouth shut. Because there are some things that I witness, some stupidities, some, things that aggravate me that are like, do you seriously have to do that right now? And it's like the same issue when people get upset about someone masticating, someone chewing too loudly or with an open mouth. I do it on purpose. I'm homeless. If you're going to accost me or judge me for the manners that I have at this point, after seeing the things that I've seen and being traumatized by the world around me and having everything ripped away from me after, the officers and their middle class families and whatever that they stem from are going to mistreat me, make sure that that I understand that I'm still part of that lowly, lower class. And it's like, what? I had all my things. I had them organized. I had them, tried to keep them nice. But after no help from anyone else, what the fuck? I thought you were making laps the other way, lady. Now you're going to start looping around back behind me so that you can see what I'm doing? That I'm over here talking to myself? So that you can see if I'm actually on video with someone else or if I'm just speaking to God like a crazy person? I'm pretty sure the electronics are also a form of God. So that's why I started doing that. I started recording because I realized, I was like, I also need to understand what people are seeing. I need to understand why they keep continually abusing me. I need to see what they see. So that's why I started recording myself in these instances, and the times where I'm aggressive, and the times where I'm positive, every facet of my life, because I need everyone to understand where my emotions sit and where they truly stand and what my actions are compared to my words. Because more than likely, and I'm not just threatening. I mean, I've had numerous suicide attempts before. All of a sudden, it could just happen. It just could happen because I'm that far gone. Because nobody is making advances toward, satisfying, like I said, retribution, compensating me so I can survive. And it's not about money. It's about, I wanted to see everyone in fucking prison. That was completely about that. It wasn't even about the fucking financial backing. And that's why I did it. I was like, are you not seeing it from my perspective? Like, can we get a few things straight here? You're looking at me like I'm crazy and deranged. And hold on, let me tell you a few things. This and this and this. Facts that lead to this and this and crazy. So, but I was looked at for seeking help as being crazy. I literally took voluntary parenting classes. Even after my divorce, I took voluntary anger management classes. After they put me on probation for 9 fucking months over marijuana. And that is actually my rightful form of medicine that keeps me maintained, keeps me confined in my in my body, so that I'm not lashing out at everyone, physically or verbally, or lashing out at inanimate objects, trying to break everything around me. So do not tell me, or myself, like all of it. So I had to go back and start recording myself. I was like, what are people seeing that they don't realize that I'm smarter than them? What are people seeing that they don't realize that I'm trying to convey something that they don't understand, and I'm just apparently too advanced for them to recognize it? And I'm like, wait a second, hold on, Leticia. Maybe you shouldn't start using them big words no more. Then maybe they'd believe you. Maybe then they'd understand. Maybe then they'd realize you were not trying to be an actress, that you're just trying to convey your story as best you can, but you just have a great imagination, great creative mind, so that you can express yourself, but you're expressing yourself too poetically and too intellectually. You better dumb it down so that people can understand and recognize. They need to recognize where you're coming from. They don't even know it. They don't understand. So apparently, you got to make it clear to these individuals, these folks, because they're not understanding what they've been doing to you all these years and how they've been neglecting and abusing you. And also that they're not doing their jobs properly. You know what I mean? They're the ones getting paid the big money, the big dollar bills. You're just over here being disabled and keeping to yourself and trying to hoping and praying that God will have some salvation for you so that he can inevitably save these individuals from their own mental disorders, their own mental issues. I'm sorry. If I use any large word, nobody'll understand me. And I thought my ex-husband, he was understanding of and comprehensive of the things that I said. Apparently he wasn't. He was born and raised in the South. He was raised in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So, you know, the fact that I was presumptive in that way to think, I was presuming, oh, I'm sorry, hold on, that's a big word. I was thinking that he was thinking that I was talking and he was understanding of it. Instead, he didn't understand the big words I was using, so he didn't go and get the definition. He didn't get the what the words mean. And so he was telling everybody else too that I was suffering through mental illness, and that's why he put me on disability. He put me on that before he ran off. He sure did. But you know what he left me with? He stole my child, the one most important thing in my life at that time, the only emotional support I ever had in my life, and the only unconditional love. I'm sorry, unconditional is kind of a big word. Let me look for something else in my mindset here. Oh, and those are big words too. Sorry. Love that's like always there, like the God love, that kind of love. So yeah. So when I had that with my daughter, I was I thought I had everything, and he wanted to hurt me. He wanted to make sure I had no love no more. And he took the one thing I loved and so much. The one thing I was the most important to me. He stole her. He said all these words, and then he just took her away. And I didn't know what happened. I was on a lot of pills from the doctor. The doctor gave me all these pills for my brain. And I just woke up one day, and I said, where's my baby? Where'd my baby go? My baby's gone. And so then, when the baby wasn't no more, I freaked out, and I tried. I tried. And they put me on probation. It's something called probation. Okay, probation. So, yeah, and that sure set me right. And so, like 9 months of, they monitored me. They said that because I harassed him, I should get kept away from him. And then they said that it was me, that I did it, that I hurt the baby. And I didn't hurt no baby. I don't remember hurting no baby. Ain't no baby got no marks on her, no nothing, no psychological. I'm sorry, ain't no baby got no mental issue because of me, because I didn't go around hurting her, abusing her. So I didn't know what happened. My ex-husband, he said we would be together. He said we'd be together in the end, because he just didn't believe in marriage, the paperwork type of marriage. But he believed that we were still in like some type of, he said, and this is kind of wild, spiritual kind of marriage where we would be together regardless. Oh, I'm sorry. We would be together in the end. It didn't matter, no, the papers. So then when I tried to confront that, I'm sorry, when I tried to say that back and say, well, since you said that, and, since God, the baby came from me, that there ain't no paper on this godly earth that could tell me that I'm not rightfully that child's mother. So, I don't know what they're doing with their paperwork in this day and age. I think everything is just some kind of big, and this is a big word now, conspiracy. So what I believed was that they were going to justice the situation, that there was going to be had some type of new court proceedings. I didn't see none of that because I didn't give them no money. They wanted money for me to see my child. So 6 years have gone by. I just been waiting for God to fix it, because that's what they told you in the South. They tell you. And you got to go to classes at churches for anger management. And I wasn't angry. I was sad. I wasn't displaying. I wasn't showing no signs of anger or violence. Oh, that's what they call it. I mean hitting. I wasn't hitting nobody. And I wasn't hurting nobody. And I didn't take the guns that were left behind and shoot nobody. And I didn't do any of the things I could have done. But they said I was still the one in the wrong. So when I tried to tell them that, hey, I had these guns. I had them for like 3 years. And I didn't shoot nobody. I didn't shoot them like they needed to be shot for stealing from me. Because they came up upon my property and they stole my baby. I should have had the right to shoot them dead so I could get my baby back. But, you know, people don't see it from my perspective. So here we are. And that's how it is. And they say God helps those who help themselves. I should have helped myself to those guns and went back to those rules from back in the day when we had constitutional rights. The ones where they say if someone is hurting you, someone is, you know, stealing from you, you have the right to murder them on sight. Just like they had the right to beat the shit out of me when I went over on their property, because this is the mentality that they have in the South. So I was just showing you what I was taught from the years I was living down there, and you made it out to be like I was some kind of crazy beast. In actuality, it's that beast running your government down there. So, anyway, I'm not sure why you'd steal from a loving and caring mother. I don't know. I don't know why you're still not understanding from any of the ways I try to convey it. Ain't nobody listening. I try to put it in your terms. I try to put it in your perspective. I'm sorry, that's a big word. I try to put it in your frame of mind. To where, you know, you got a frame of mind. This is how you see the world through your window. But your window's all fogged up. Probably because you've been, you know, fapping it. So, to your sisters and whatnot. So, and these are the types of people that run the government as well down there, because they don't understand what's going on, what's heads or tails of none of it. So, and I try. I don't even know where I get this entitlement, this power to speak down to those that have robbed and raped, stolen from me, you know. Oh, robbing and raping and stealing is all about the same, isn't it? All about the same. But it doesn't matter, no. It doesn't matter to nobody, no, does it? So, yeah, I got all this stuff that I got to talk about, and I got to talk about it to somebody. And I sure as hell ain't gonna do it behind closed doors no more. I ain't gonna do that, because ain't nobody fixing it behind closed doors. So that's why I decided to take it publicly. I took all this publicly so I can explain to everybody, this is what I see. I'm creative, but I'm not that creative to have made up a story like this. I am not an actress. I never took theatrical classes or courses. Leticia Servin was born 1987 in Wisconsin. Yet she ended up trying to appropriate herself for a society that was so devolved that it took advantage of her instead of helping her like they promised. Because in the 90s, they used to say women had rights. They used to have, you know, equality types of functions where we would realize that interracial, you know, interactions. I'm sorry, these are all big words, mind you. That they're completely fine. So, I'm sick and tired of this. Sick and tired of being ostracized and persecuted for the wrong reasons. And I know it has something to do with my gender. It has something to do with my race. Or my mixture of races, honestly. So I know God's just pushing me so that I can inform the world around me about how it truly works. And how money is no object in this. Because the true God, the true being, will fix and even out, balance the circumstances one way or another. So even when Leticia Collins, when she decided to reach out with that video saying, clarifying, what did you want me to do with these guns? Did you want me to come and shoot you? Did you want me to come and shoot myself? Is that what you left him for? Is that why you got me on, placed me on disability right before you skedaddled? That you just up and ran, didn't you? So, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure what the hell happened, but people need to start seeing it from every perspective. Everybody needs to see it from a godly perspective as well, to realize a mother needs her baby. A mother always needs her baby, especially a breastfeeding mama. One that took her out her titties every day, multiple times a day. That child never went without. She put a lot of effort into that. That's thousands of dollars, I'd say. Because when you pay for a wet nurse back in the day, they had housing. They had all this and that to at least keep them. But what was I? I was human trafficked is what it really was. I was sexually trafficked, because that's what it boils down to. Because when you steal a baby from a mama like that, that's nothing. There ain't no justice, no. There ain't no godliness in that, no whatsoever. Not at all. Not whatsoever. So yeah, those are my thoughts and those are my feelings. I get aggravated. This morning I sort of had some phlegm, some green phlegm come up. And, that's a sign of infection. And I feel like that infection is exactly what I needed to convey with all of this. Thank you, everybody, for your donations also. I know damn well that there are plenty out there that see it from my perspective. And I'm not trying to make you see it from my personal perspective. I want you to see it from a third-party, godly perspective. That I was just reaching out. Leticia Collins was just backing down to the situation. She thought she had done wrong, like she always does, apologizing, scared to exist, scared to interact with others, wondering what does she have to apologize for now? Breathing your fancy air full of particles, causing an infection. It's all the allergies to all the traveling and whatnot. So, apparently she's not good enough for y'all. She's not good enough for none of y'all. Except for the people, the godly people that want to see her survive daily. It hurts so much that you just don't see. You don't see what you did. You don't make amends. You don't seek forgiveness. You don't repent. That's the sad part. That's so sad for you. Because I know better than to interact with any y'all anymore. I know better than they told me years ago, don't reach out. Don't follow him then if he's going around pleading that he's being harassed. But that's why I wanted to get it on video. Because I knew I was breaking down. I knew it wasn't fair. 6 years without my baby. 6 years. I knew it wasn't fair. It just kept going. It still keeps going. I can't be around her because everyone else, all these demonic beings, these demonic forces keep keeping her away from me. And it wasn't even nothing I did. Sure, I lit her crib on fire in front of her fucking father and said, get her out of here. I wanted to burn with the house. After I'd already been abused. After his family had already assaulted me. And I was left with no soul. No being inside of me that cared. Because they were never going to get in trouble for any of the things they did to me. Not in the legal system. Not in the courts. Because I didn't have the money to put them there. So I knew, just give it to God. Just let God drive that steering wheel, you know. Just let him take it, you know, take that car. It's all about that. That's all you got. And then everybody says, like, how funny it is. Well, see how funny it is when you go through the same turmoil. When you go through the same issues. Sorry. So when, you know, they didn't fix none of it because they said I didn't have the money to do it, I said, okay, well, let me just be patient. The Lord blesses those that are patient and loving and kind. So that's what I did. I didn't want to get nobody in trouble. I just kept my mouth shut. I buried all these emotions deep, deep down. And then I started smoking weed and I realized that's not healthy. That's not healthy at all to be eating away at me. That's why I was over 300 pounds before I started smoking weed. And the weed didn't make me gain weight. It made me find myself again. It's called marijuana. Marijuana. Well, it's got a marijuana. You know? You know how it's spelled, right? It's like a miracle drug. And everybody says that these fancy doctor-prescribed, doctor-given pills that they give out with all the pills, that's natural. That's not natural, fixing yourself. That's just you falling into a huge cycle of illusions. I'm sorry, a huge cycle of not knowing what's going on around you. So when I woke up from all them pharmaceuticals and I realized my whole life had been destroyed because I was trying to find help, and that's what they gave me. The doctors gave me, and they weren't good for me because apparently I've got like this thing called highly sensitive person, something like that. I don't know, but that's what they've said. And I know I appreciate when I get to interact with smart people, with the doctors that are smart that talk about my brain. That's nice, because then they tell me things about my brain, and I know exactly what they're talking about, and I can put it out into a sort of like a little connective puzzle, like puzzle pieces, putting them together. And then when I got all my puzzle pieces, I can figure out what's really going on. So they said something, and I knew it was something Stockholm syndrome, something like that. Yeah, Stockholm syndrome. And then I knew. I said, you know, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't you stand up for yourself, Leticia? Why didn't you stand up for yourself? Well, because the words of God told me to be patient and loving and kind, and not to go seeking money. Not to go seek no money, because that would be greedy. Don't go seeking it. It'll find you if it's meant for you. So that's what I tell everybody. That I was so sad, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I did things when I was super sad on the pills, but that wasn't me. That was the doctors telling me that was okay, and that them pills were going to fix my brain. But they didn't. Instead, it made my brain go crazy. And then they kept giving me shots and shots and shots in my rear end. In my rear end! Not in my rear end, but like on it. Like on the buttocks. Like on the butt cheek. So, and then I said, no, I'm allergic. Don't do that. And they didn't listen. And then one of them, and I was in one of the doctor hospitals with the brain, you know, and I was locked in there, and two of the orderlies is what they call them. You know, the people that walk around the halls and supposed to be your friend, supposed to be taking care of you while you're in there. They told me to touch myself. They told me to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they were talking all filthy to me. And they were saying all these things about my genitals, all of my different body parts, my female parts. And they weren't supposed to talk like that. I didn't know any better. But they took advantage of me. That's what they said. That's what the doctor said. But nobody did nothing to get me any kind of compensation. So I'm sorry, any kind of money to help me live after that. Because my brain snapped and I couldn't work after that. All these different things that kept going in and out of my brain. I couldn't fix it. There was too much trauma is what they called it. It was called like, you know, trauma is kind of like when you get like, hurting pain in your brain years after all the times you were hurt on your body, or also any kind of like if you got hit real hard in the head and everything, which I landed on my head years ago in a car accident. It was actually an SUV is what they called it, and it was a Chevy Blazer. And I tried to tell people I wasn't feeling good. My neck hurts. And I never healed it properly. And that's why I continue to crack it into place every day. Multiple times. Lots of times a day. Because, you know, I tried to be a smart. Apparently this is where I belong, though. In this mindset. Because that's the only way anybody will understand me, is getting down on their level. So yeah, and then I just poke fun at people because I ain't got no friends. That's why I make these videos, because it's me having therapy, like me going to a therapist's office so I can talk to somebody. This is my emotions. This is my reality, and I'm conveying it for what you've shown me. Like, this is my depiction of you. So, in the way that you're not able to fix the things and engage with things properly. Yet everyone thinks that I'm crazy. Everyone says I'm crazy. And that's why they shove me in psych wards. So I'll keep my story from the public's eye. Because what happened was not okay. You mistreated me, and you thought I was just part of that lowly and uneducated class. And then when I told everyone, you don't know who you're fucking with. You really don't. Like, I will tell everyone what you've done. And the fact that I was allowed to be persuaded into getting abused due to the pharmaceuticals, that completely, I should be able to sue for all of that. But no one cares. And I woke up from all that, and I realized, I was like, holy shit, you're right. The doctors are manipulating everything. It is a huge conspiracy. You know, all this and that. I should be able to sue the United States of America for allowing me to fall prey to all this. And then I was like, holy shit, Leticia, if you're onto something, then it's true. But if not, they're not going to do anything either way. They're going to make sure that you get snuffed out. They're going to kill you off before you can get any type of compensation for this story, because this is an honest and true story. So if anybody I try to tell everyone, back the fuck up. Don't try to touch me. Don't, as an officer, if you're coming up to me, you offer me the respect I deserve, because I caught on to your fucking nonsense. I caught on to your games and your systems and how you work them and how you keep everyone revolved in a certain, you know, if they don't have the finances, they can't succeed. So I understand. I understood all of that. But I really don't want to play your games anymore. Okay? And I wish I had my poodles back, because that is unjustifiable. You stole life from me. You stole my daughter from me. And now that I'm creating this life, last night while I was sleeping, or trying to sleep, I told him to quit fucking moving, that I was going to fucking hit him. I never get that violent. Why am I getting so violent? Because I have no safe place to go. Because every time I preached and went to these places and whatever and sought help and whatever, no one cares. They're crazy. And why do I want to involve myself with crazy? I'd rather be by myself, wait until I die off, wait until they snuff me out in some form or another, inject me with this and that, like all of a sudden I've got some viral infection. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I'm not saying that it happened now. I'm just saying in general. So I just wanted to relay my story this morning, how I feel, and how I'm just telling everyone still to fuck off because I'm not in a good mood. I had a bad dream, and it caused all of this. Just all of it. And people are like, Leticia, you're so weird. Like, yeah. And I don't act like this in normal. I just keep to myself, very quiet. I'm not always, like, demeaning toward everyone in their fucking Southern grandpa. You know? Just saying. Just in general. And I'm actually very kind individually, so you better back the fuck up. You think you're going to try to talk down to me or take excerpts of my content and not convey it properly. So I'm done for the day right now so that I can finish getting ready. I was going to take a nap right now, but this is what happened. My emotional instability happened. Fucking my day up already. Today is May 23rd or 24th, early hours. I think it's the 23rd. 2022. Leticia Collins Servin. I hope everyone has a good day.